Distinguished audience, distinguished representatives of the government, non-governmental institutions, international organizations, ladies and gentlemen.
يحيي السادة الحضور من الحكومة العراقية ويحيي كل الحضور من المنظمات الموجودة هنا العاملة في العراق.
I will not go through the details through which Dr. Al-Ambaki has covered already a lot on the state-owned enterprises. I would just want to go a little bit backwards and start why we're here.
بالحقيقة ما راح أتطرق للتفاصيل اللي طرقها الدكتور العباكي لأنه هو غطى الموضوع تقريبا بشكل كامل. بس أنا راح أباشر الموضوع لماذا نحن هنا.
Why the government has embarked on this huge restructuring effort.
ليش الحكومة هي طبقت هاي التغيير الهيكلي الكبير.
Why international players such as the United Nations, United States government, the World Bank, a number of other non-profitable institutions are operating now in the country.
لماذا المؤسسات الدولية مثل الأمم المتحدة، الدولة الأمريكية وباقي المؤسسات الأخرى هي أيضا لاعبين في هذا المجال؟
Because both the government of Iraq and the partners involved in this process, they believe that the people of Iraq deserve better opportunities that they currently have access to.
لأنه طبعا الحكومة العراقية والشركاء اللي موجودين تحدثنا عنهم يعتقدون أنه العراقيين يستحقون فرصة أفضل.
Because they believe and they want to make sure that the Iraqi economy is recognized as one of strong economies, and Iraq is a key player in the region.
لأنه أيضا يعتقدون ومؤمنين بأنه الاقتصاد العراقي أو العراق هو لاعب أساسي، والاقتصاد العراقي هو جزء من الاقتصاد العام.
But to do so, we need to ensure that there is a lot of economic activity generated, a diversified economic activity generated within the country, which would allow them to consider Iraq really a key player in the region.
هناك تطورات اقتصادية مهمة حدثت، واللي تؤهل أو اللي تقدم العراق أو تأهله وتقدمه على أنه لاعب أساسي.
In order to diversify the economy, which currently hinges on the oil, on the extraction industries, primarily oil, which brings about 90% of the budget, but unfortunately employs only around 1% of the workforce.
بالحقيقة أنه نعرف الاقتصاد العراقي يركز على موضوع النفط اللي هو يمثل 90% من اقتصاده، لكن لسوء الحظ هو 1% من الاقتصاد العالمي.
So in order to create such a diversified economy, we need to start with creating a conducive environment.
وإذا نريد نحقق اقتصاد متوازن، لازم نحقق بيئة متوازنة حتى نتأهل.
A conducive environment starting from the policy level, the legislative environment, regulatory environment, institutional environment, which will support development of such businesses in different areas, different industries.
طبعا هاي تبدي العملية بتحديد السياسات وتحديد التشريعات والقوانين، وبالتالي حتى تبدي نوصل للمرحلة الثانية.
Without developing further that concept, I want to mention that the state-owned enterprises which currently operate in Iraq are, or restructuring of the state-owned enterprises is one of the key elements in this process. The state-owned enterprises which are currently operating in Iraq, restructuring of these enterprises is a key element in making sure that a diversified business environment can develop.
وطبعا اللاعبين الأساسيين في هيكلية الاقتصاد في العراق هم خلينا نسميهم الكي بيرسون او الاشخاص الاساسيين في عمليه اداره الاقتصاد.
Why? Because of a number of reasons. The state-owned enterprises are operating inefficiently, again, due to lack of good technologies, due to lack of modern management principles, due to lack of access to finance, and lack of marketing opportunities and business development opportunities which could be developed from the enterprises.
ولقلة
So the state-owned enterprise restructuring is a key aspect in ensuring that the businesses are operating profitably within the country.
طبعا هو التأكد من عملية إدارة الاقتصاد بشكل صحيح في العراق يعتمد على هواية أمور.
Restructuring of these enterprises is important.
إعادة بناء هذه الاقتصاديات هو كلش مهم.
Because operation of these enterprises or the state-owned enterprises within the economy, because operation of the state-owned enterprises is hampering to a great extent the private business, many companies in the private business. Okay, let me put it in a plain language. Okay, having state-owned enterprises operating in the manner they are currently operating, they are a competitor. They become a competitor which kills the businesses which otherwise would develop in the country.
بالتالي راح يصبحون متنافسين فيما بينهم وراح يقتلون الاقتصاد العراقي.
Why? Because enterprises are inefficient, but at the same time they benefit from a lot of resources from the government, a lot of
لأنهم أصلا غير كفؤين ومستفادين من التمويل بداخل العراق.
Now, there are different reasons why these enterprises are operating inefficiently, and we all know those. I won't go through just mentioning that technologies, management principles, and business development skills are.
وطبعا انهم غير كفؤين لعده اسباب راح اتطرق لها، هي مجرد عمليه انه عندهم اشياء رئيسيه مثلا شو اللي قال الاداره، التكنولوجي بشكل عام يعني مو اي نعم.
Right. So the government has recognized that this is one of the major hurdles. The state-owned enterprise operation or the state-owned enterprises existing as they are is a major hurdle in developing.
والحكومة العراقية عرفت أنه هذه مسائل أساسية أو عقبات كبيرة في تحسين الوضع.
In developing a diverse private sector.
في تطوير القطاع الخاص.
So, back in 2009, the Council of Ministers have mandated the Task Force for Economic Reforms.
في 2009 مجلس الوزراء شكل قوة عاملة.
Which is within the Prime Minister's Advisory Board.
وهي اللي هي على مستوى البرايم مينستر يعني رئاسة الوزراء.
To develop this roadmap for restructuring of the state-owned enterprises.
لتطوير خارطة الطريق للتشغيل. صحيح؟
Now, this task has been performed by one of the work groups within the task. This work on the restructuring of state-owned enterprises has been led by a work group, one of the work groups within the task force.
وهذه الفريق العمل تم قيادته من قبل
is led by one of the work groups, which is chaired by Dr. Alambaki.
اللي قاد الأستاذ العمبكي.
Along these years, the task force has developed the roadmap together with the United Nations, with the 7 agencies of the United Nations.
وتم تطوير خارطة الطريق مع 7 منظمات تابعة للأمم المتحدة.
In consultation with the World Bank.
مع الاستشارات البنك الدولي.
With the USAID.
ويا منظمة المال الدولية USAID.
With OECD.
ويا OST.
Organization for Economic Development.
منظمة التعاون الاقتصادي والتنمية.
And other partners.
ومشاركين آخرين أعضاء آخرين.
Now, the roadmap itself is a very comprehensive document which was approved by the cabinet decision 314 last year.
خارطة الطريق طبعا هي وثيقة شاملة ووثيقة تعزيزية.
And the roadmap, I'll just go very briefly, Dr. Alambaki, I would not go into details which you have covered. But say that the government has outlined the methodology of restructuring the state-owned enterprises.
الحكومة لها رؤية الآن بالتكوين القوى التشغيلية.
So the institutional arrangements required in order for that the restructuring process to take place. The restructuring units, the restructuring support teams, which Dr. Alambaki referred to, the implementation phases, the implementation process with the 4 phases, which again were covered in detail by
الإجراءات المؤسسية طبعا هذه راح تتبعها هي كيفية تأدية هاي الواجبات.
The very important aspect, the social mitigation package, and here I would like to stop, maybe cover in a couple more minutes, because this is very important, the social mitigation package. The social mitigation package, yeah? And the actions and roles of the government in more details.
والتصرفات وأحكام الدولة العراقية.
Okay, so I'll skip the implementation, the methodology and so on, and I'll stop on the social mitigation package.
راح أعبر على الأداء كيفية أدائها تطبيقها وراح أنتقل إلى مرحلة أخرى.
But before I cover that, I want to make sure that we really understand what we are talking about. So the process is to restructure those enterprises, to transform them into commercial entities. We speak about corporatization of the enterprises, not privatization, not outright privatization and selling them. We speak about making them corporate.
تحويل هذه المنشآت إلى شركات، يعني هو يريد يربط حسب رأيهم بين هذا إعادة الهيكلة وتطوير قطاع الشركات the corporate sector.
Yeah, so the companies will transform in independent corporations which will act
وأن هذه المنشآت سوف تتحول إلى شركات مستقلة
will act according to commercial principles.
وتعمل على وفق المبادئ التجارية وهذه قيلت من قبل.
There will be independent enterprises, management of which will be judged according to the performance, according to the criteria set for the management to run those enterprises.
نعم، وأنها طبعا تدار باستنادا إلى معايير تضعها إدارة تلك الشركات.
No, the companies will continue to be owned by the state through the shares. So 100% of the shares initially will be owned by the state.
Yes, طبعا.
But the companies themselves.
في المرحلة الأولى طبعا هو عندما يريد يحول هذه الشركات إلى شركات مساهمة، طبعا في لحظة الانطلاق سيكون جميع هذه الأسهم مملوكة للدولة 100%، وفيما بعد.
But the companies themselves will operate based on commercial principles, not being directly directed by the.
Yes, ولكن هذه الشركات الجديدة سوف تدار بأساس المبادئ التجارية وليس بالأوامر الإدارية.
In order to pursue the opportunities which they see and they have to act upon, opportunities in the market.
هم سوف يلاحظون الفرص ويتحركون لاقتناصها. هذا هو يفترض.
Now, the social mitigation package is a closely related issue.
وهذا رزمة تخفيف الأعباء الاجتماعية.
Why? Because companies becoming independent, they will try to become more efficient.
طبعا. وعندما تكون هذه الشركات مستقلة سوف تحاول أن تكون أكثر كفاءة وراح يقولوا راح تسرح عدد من المنتسبين.
And there will be a lot of effort required to secure that the people do not get hurt in this process.
وطبعا
As I mentioned at the very beginning, the purpose of the government and of the restructuring process itself is to give opportunities to the people, not to take away even the one single opportunity which the people at the moment have to work for a state-owned enterprise.
مو بس إعادة هيكلة، وإنما تقدم الحكومة يعني هي راح تقدم فرص للناس من خلال هذا.
So, as Dr. Alambaki mentioned, there will be a comprehensive social mitigation package put in place together with the ministry.
Social mitigation package, mitigation يعني شيء كلش صعب نخففه نسويه قابل للتحمل، فهذا هو يعني يقول من جملة هذا الريستراكشرنج بروجرام راح اكو رسمة او مجموعة من الاجراءات لتخفيف الاعباء الاجتماعية عن هذا التحول، بس هو راح يطول بعد هو
which is great. Thank you so much. So this mitigation package is put together with the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs.
وهذه راح تنقل إلى وزارة الشؤون والعمل.
Let me give you just an example. Just drop from here and give you an example from my previous work. 18 years ago, we went through a process back in the Soviet Union. We went through a process of corporatizing one of the major state-owned enterprises in that country, in Moldova.
كنا في الاتحاد السوفيتي في عملية دمج أو شركة.
The state-owned enterprise Mall Telecom, a telecommunications operator, the national incumbent telecom operator.
Okay, can you say again?
Right. So we went through the corporatization process of the state-owned enterprise Mall Telecom. It was a telecommunications operator.
كانت شركة تيليكوم. خلاص
بس هسه راح يحولها الى شركات، يعني راح يسويها هو حسب ما راح يقول هو في نيتهم انه يسمونها مو بس شركه وانما تميل الى ان تكون شركه مساهمه، بحيث تصبح عضو في قطاع الشركات. هذه العمليه اللي يسمونها كوربوراتيزيشن يعني مو بس مجرد نقل الملكيه من الحكومه الى الاهالي، وانما تغيير التنظيم والملكيه.
So the company, before that, it was operated like here by the Ministry of Telecommunications there. Then we organized the company as a corporation, acting independently with their board of directors.
حولناها إلى وحدة خاصة مستقلة عن وزارة الاتصالات.
The executive board of directors, not the shareholder board, but the executive board of directors.
نفس مجلس الإدارة الخاص بالشركة نفسها.
And within the restructuring process, they started operating on commercial principles.
بعملية البناء هم بدأوا هم أصلاً بعملية خلق الاستراكشر مال الشركة الجديدة.
To expand their area of operation in order to get more revenue to be able to pay their own people.
حتى يوسعون قاعدة نشاطاتهم حتى يستقطبون أكثر عدد من الناس.
So from more than 7,500 people employed by the company before restructuring. Employed before the restructuring.
قبل الهيكلية 7,500 موظف كانوا موجودين في الشركة.
At the end of the restructuring process, we were left with, guess how many?
قبل بعد نهاية الهيكلة وبقى الباقي فقط كم؟
7,500 people. Nobody lost their jobs.
بقوا نفسهم 7,500 شخص.
And the company entered into different areas of operation.
والشركة توسعت إلى مجالات أخرى.
They started developing new areas like internet.
بدأوا يطورون في مجالات أخرى مثل الإنترنت.
Cable television. A lot of groundwork in order to put new networks in place. Developed the fiber optic cables which would link the country with Ukraine and with the countries in the Black Sea area. So the work done was even more, it was expanded because the company, once it started working on their own, they saw many other opportunities which at the ministry level people were not able really to make the things happen.
فالناس من بدأوا يشتغلون هم بما بيناتهم هم خلقوا الهيكلية رؤاهم توسعت وبدأوا ينفتحون إلى مجالات عمل أخرى على عكس ما كانت موجودة في مستوى الوزارة اللي كانت مربوطة بها، كانت فد رؤى محدودة يعني.
And the company has brought many investors in the country in the same fiber network optics.
وجابوا مستثمرين على مود
in terms of exchanges, well-known companies like Siemens and others.
مثل شركات
Siemens and others, and other companies.
وأخريات.
And guess what? Now, 18 years later,
وبعد 18 سنة,
the company is still 100% owned by the state.
وبعد 18 سنة الشركة لا زالت 100%
owned by the state.
مملوكة من قبل الدولة.
But the company operates profitably.
لكن الشركة هي تتحكم بالفوائد.
The employees have very nice, very good working conditions there.
والموظفين عندهم يعني مستويات عمل.
And when they, as a private corporation, as a commercial business, they try to hire new people, they have lots of applications to join the company.
توظيف عالية جدا وعندهم يعني استعداد يستقبلون أكثر وأكثر.
Why? Because the social mitigation aspect within that restructuring case
لأنه مفهوم التطوير الاجتماعي
was taken care of very, very carefully.
كان مأخوذ بنظر الاعتبار بدرجة عالية.
So I see that this exactly the same principle is adopted by the government of Iraq in the case of restructuring state-owned enterprises here.
أعتقد هو هذا نفس المفهوم اللي أخذته الدولة العراقية على مود تأسيس الشركات الخاصة.
These are the same principles which are promoted by United Nations, the World Bank, USAID, and OECD, and all participants.
الأفكار اللي تتبناها الأمم المتحدة والUSAID وباقي المنظمات اللي تحاول تطوير المجال.
And we simply need to make sure that this is understood by people. People do not have the fear of losing their job.
واحنا هنا نريد نأكد انه لازم نفهم المضمون الكونسبت انه ما حد راح يفقد وظيفته.
Vice versa, people have the occasion to get either to get better qualifications or to get requalified in any other areas in their field of expertise they're working on.
أو يكسبون خبرات إضافية أو يرقون إلى في مجالات عمل أخرى.
Because many more opportunities for the enterprises themselves will open.
لأنه مجالات عمل أخرى كثيرة راح تفتح بهاي الشركات الجديدة.
I would probably want to stop here, not take more time.
أعتقد هنا راح توقف ما في وقت أكثر.
And the details of the process of the mitigation package, which is being offered to the enterprises.
والتفاصيل الباكج أو الموضوع التفاصيل كليتها اللي احنا عرضناها على هاي الشركه.
Details of that package will be released as soon as the MOLSA and the team is developing those.
ستطرح قريبا as soon as حسب ما وزارة العمل والشؤون والفريق راح
will make them public. And a lot of information will be on the website of the Iraqi Institute for Economic Reforms.
وراح يكون كل المعلومات على الويب سايت الموقع الالكتروني مال IIER.
Thank you very much.
شكرا جزيلا.